This is the solution of the previous activity where you have to compute the max value from this array over there. So let's get started. First, what we need to do is actually to go through that list. So I'm going to use a for loop with for number in number list to go through every element in that list. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to compare the number with the current max value. Okay, and what I'm going to do is if this number is greater than the current max value, then I will update the max value to be this number. All right, so if number is greater than max value, so I could have used greater or equal, okay, but this would not change anything, because if the number is equal to the max value, then it's useless to just update it because it's already the max value. So if number is greater than max value, I don't forget the colon, then I press enter. I'm going to say max value is number. Okay, so one equal sign to assign the number to the max value. And as you can see here, we have one indentation for the for loop and then another one for the if. So really pay attention to that, okay? Because if you, for example, if you write that, it means that this will not be executed inside the if. This will just be executed every time you run into one block of code with the for loop. If I put the indentation here, it means that this will be executed only when this condition for the if is true. Okay, and now I'm going back here and I'm going back to the main execution here and just print the max value. And actually what I can do is say max value is, and then plus max value, but I need to put it with str. Okay, if you just print an integer, it works, but if you print a concatenation of strings, you need to make sure that all of the elements are strings. So let's run that and let's save as activity3.python. The max value is 78. Great, we have found the max value from the array. So let's go back to the execution of that particular code here. So we first use the for loop, okay, which means that we are going through all of the elements of the array. So this block of code will be actually called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So the first time, number will be 3. So we compare if number greater than max value. So is 3 greater than 0? Yes. So we go to that block of code and now the max value, so that variable is equal to 3. Then we exit that if statement and instead of going there, we come back to the for loop. Now number is 5. Is 5 greater than the max value, which is now 3? Yes. So now the max value is 5. We go back to the for. Now number is 78. Is 78 greater than 5, which is now the max value? Yes, so we update max value to be 78. And now we go back again, number is -7, and here we check if -7 is greater than 78, which is actually not true. So that block of code will not be executed. And we go back to the line 4 with 45, and 45 is not greater than 78, so we again don't go to that block of code. So the if here, the condition is evaluated, but this block of code is not called. And finally, once we have reached every element in the list, the for loop will exit and the execution of the program will continue at line 7. So we arrive to line 8 and we print the max value, which is now 78. Great, and now let's make a function for that. So here it's nice because we can do that in our program, but maybe we can use a function, so we just need to call the function, and every time we need to compute the max value from an array, we just need to call the function. That's very simple. So let's name the function, so use def, and let's name the function get max value from number list. Okay, so that is a pretty explicit name. Okay, we know we will get the max value from a list, and it's not any list, it's a number list. Okay, so that is a good function name. And we are going to give it one parameter, which is of course the number list. And again here, pay attention to the scope, because I've used the same name here, number list and number list, but those are two different variables or two different lists here, because this will be a local variable inside the function. This is just the variable we use inside our program. So I put the colon here. The indentation is very important. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually copy this code inside here. So what I can do is just go back here, copy that, and then I'm going to do indent selected lines one more time. Okay, so make sure you have 4 spaces for the first one, and then 8 for the next one, and then you will have 12 spaces for the third one. Okay, the indentation here, as you can see, everything is indented once more because we are inside a function. So now I'm going to remove that here. Actually, I also need to put the max value here. So I create a max value, then I compute the max value, and then I'm going to add a new line. So I'm going back to this indentation here and return max value. So it's very important that I put the return max value at this indentation, okay, which means that it will be executed after the for loop. If I put the return here with that indentation, what does it mean? It means that when we execute the for loop, for the first time, it will run that code, and then it will directly return the max value after the first element of the array. Okay, and if I use another indentation, it means that the first time we go through that, if the first time this is evaluated to true, we go inside that block of code and we return the max value without going through all of the elements of the array. So the indentation is very important here. And what I'm going to do here is now I'm going to call that function from the main program. So get max value, and here I will press Ctrl and space to get the auto completion, and I'm going to give it number list because I need to give a list. Okay, and I'm going actually to save that value inside a variable, because if I just call it like that, I will get a number, but it will not be saved. Let's put inside max value and let's run it, and it works. Max value is 78. So you can now see that your program is only 3 lines of code, okay, and you have a function that does all of the computation. And you can actually create a new list of numbers, and you can just use that function again without having to copy and paste that code every time. And once again here you can see the max value. Here we have the same name as here, but as this is a different scope, okay, this is not the same variable. That's why we can use the same name. Same for the number list. Great, so you have finished the activity 3. If you had any problem, whether it be with functions, with variables, with the scope, with for loops, with if statements, anything, please go back to the corresponding lesson to understand more, and then come back to this activity and make sure that you are comfortable doing the activity by yourself.